So the idea is like this. It's the pasuk of Sefira Soimer is what? Mehochel chermeish bakama, tochel lisbar shiva shavuos. What is Taichverta? Mehochel, like mehascholas, chermeish bakama. When the sickle begins to swing against the standing grain, tochel lisbar shiva shavuos. That's when you start counting the 7 weeks. The halacha of Omer, this is the pasuk. So that's already a huge information to what Sefira is about. What is the imagery of Hochel Chermeish Bakama? So what it means literally is when the harvest begins. Right? The comma is the word. Comma means like just standing. Stalks. It refers to the standing grain before it gets. It's standing. It's waving in the field, and the sickle is what chops it down. So when it's a very poetic image of the beginning of the harvest. It could have said in the beginning of the harvest. Instead, it calls me Hochel Chermeish Bakama. But it's not just just poetry. So most people think he's cleaning the pool now.
Yeah, no, it's the hose. I guess they're filling it up for the summer.
I hear. Most people think that we were all comma. Everybody starts off life as a comma. Your life is amazing, and you're blowing in the wind, waving in the field, and then there's a sickle that comes and chops down your comma. That's my trauma. The moment, it's a very, what do you call it? A definitive moment. This phrase is a very easy phrase to interpret as an image, as an imagery, as a sadistic image for life. So what's the message then? The message is. You know my word on the. It's the same word as my word on the Chazal about the Malach hitting in the lip.
I don't think I've heard that.
You never heard that one? Such a beautiful Torah. It's the same word as this. I'll say that Torah. It's you ever heard my word on the Malach hitting on the lip?
Nope.
This is one of my favorite things. What?
I can't believe no one here's heard it.
It's crazy. You said it at the Gahal 3 years ago.
I did. I said it 3 years ago.
Not in the main speech, like
afterwards. It's such a perfect insight. So this is that word on the next level. But let me tell you that word quick. This was earlier Torah in religion. The Mahalach is called religion. I like to go through Chazals that we learned as kids and learn them as adults, and you'll see that it's not magical. It could be. It is.
People say that's not true. You ever hear this?
What?
You ever seen where it says this, the flip Torah?
Yeah, it's a Gemara. It's a Gemara.
So I've heard people say it doesn't exist.
Wow.
No.
But they didn't find it.
What?
One of the chapters in the book is going to be all the religion
That's
broken down or whatever.
I want to go through all those chazals that we learned as kids and learn them as adults
like Vashti,
without the magic, Vashti's tale, all these things. So this is one of your sites to go on. Let's go through what it says. It says that you learn Kala Torah Kula in the womb, and then when you're born, the Malach comes, hits you on the lip, and you forget the whole Torah. So let's translate it al pi religion. What is Torah? What does Torah mean? What does it mean in English? Torah is truth, emes, but emes is still a philosophy word. What would be a much more real word for emes?
Godly?
Getting more esoteric. What is give me the word
Torah.
emes? What?
Guidebook.
Rules.
Rules. Who says rules is emes?
Teachings. I'm just saying
You have to show me that the rules are emes. What is emes? Define emes.
Reality.
Reality. Emes is just another word for reality. You ask him? Reality is the real word for emes. Emes is the attempt to articulate reality. The thing we're defining is reality. Maskim? You have no problem with that? So could we replace the word Torah with reality? Really, that's what it is. It's not a game. If you know Kala Torah Kula, what does it mean? What do you know? You totally know reality. You have an arois. You know emes. And knowing emes means reality. You skip all the steps. So a child in the womb knows Kala Torah Kula. What does it mean? That a baby is totally in touch with reality. It sees everything exactly as it is. It's only when we go through life and we get clapped that we start to lose touch with reality. We start to lie and distort things. That's called Shikchas HaTorah. Shikchas HaTorah is the distortion of reality. Torah is reality. Shikchas HaTorah is the loss of being in touch with reality. What causes that? Where you get derailed. Okay? So the best mashal for it is like I use is when I was in Yardley, we had this glass room behind the house. I used to appear my drushes in there. It was like all glass, small little room, and we kept it clean. So I was watching when they used to have beautiful animals there. Like it was very rural, and I was watching this beautiful bird, and as I'm watching it, it flies right next to me into the glass house. Bam, into the wall, and it falls into a heap. Like I saw it happen. It was like it's a traumatic thing to see happen, let alone to happen. So I jumped up, I went out of the thing, like, why did I have to see this? And I see the bird, it's alive, and it's just like in this little heap on the ground. And it was like a little ledge over there, fell onto the ledge. And it was moving around. And after a few minutes, it popped up on one foot, and then the other foot, and it sort of flew off. And I was watching it, I was thinking this thought. Even if the bird is healed, and nothing really broke, it tests its wings and everything works, will this bird ever be able to fly again the same way it flew beforehand? Because beforehand, it looked at the world that the sky is open and it could fly totally free, unrestrained. But now, for the rest of its life, it knows that only 99% of the sky is open. Every once in a while, there's a really hard spot of sky. And you never know when you'll hit that spot again. So for the rest of its life, it's going to fly like with a little bit of the beak doesn't want to have a 90-degree collision. A little trepidation, a little hesitant. It'll never be free like it was. This that total. Can you recover that innocence? So it's a deep question. But before we get to that answer to that question, what is the human version of that story? It's a definitive moment. The bird. If you wanted to draw a painting, or write a song, something about that moment. It's probably one of the most important moments in our lives. We all start off. That's what I'm calling. We're saying we're all born knowing Kol Tarkula. We're living free in reality, just totally in sync with what is. No sheker, no spin, no lying, no, you don't have to kvetch, you don't do anything, it's just real. No defensiveness, all the things we do wrong are all shkarim. That's a common denominator. Every chet, everything wrong is a lie. It's a distortion of reality. Reality is perfect. Or, not perfect, but in sync with your metzias. Maybe you have an avodah to do in reality, but reality is what is being in sync with reality is your shleimus. So all flaws, all mistakes are so that moment that you lose touch with reality is the moment you fly into the glass wall. What would you say is the moment that people would chop? You want to make a painting of this. What would you draw? That people would look at it and go, no, that's what happened to me. I know that moment. Ouch. You want to look at it and go, ouch. Write a song, an A.B. Rottenberg song about this moment. What is the moment? Can you think of what would you
I heard this part.
What? You heard this already?
This part, yeah.
Oh, so okay. So don't say it. What would you say? You're an artist, neshama. What would you draw?
Yes.
No. So I think that the universal moment for most people is when we're little kids. Every single thing we say, we're a genius. He's a genius. Every time there's company, they call him the kid. They go, say that. Everyone knows. Then all the weird little mispronunciations he has and the things he says wrong, right? Like my son Zvi used to call my next son was born Alexander Yom Tov Lipa. That's a very hard thing for a 2-year-old to wrap his head around. His brother's name was Alexander Yom Tov Lipa.
You did that.
What? Who?
You did that to your kid.
Yeah, but so what did Tzvi, that was the moment when you named his brother? No, so Tzvi used to say, people used to come and ask, what's your brother's name? He used to go, his Home Depot. he thought his name was, he used to always go, I was always fixed building things. He thought his name was Home Depot. He used to call him Home Depot. So we used to have company. We'd go, what's his name? Home Depot. And everybody would laugh. When you're 2 or 3 years old, you're a rock star. And the kids, they chop their power. Sometimes they play hard to get, and they don't perform. And so they're testing their strength. It's like we're flying. And then all of a sudden, one day, the kid walks into the room, and he says some line, cute little, whatever he does, that everyone says, genius! He says the same line, and all of a sudden, everyone goes, shh, not now, shut, sheket, schweig, whatever, shut up, whatever they say, over whatever kind of house he came from. That is the universal moment. That's first shush. And for the rest of your life, and this kid doesn't know what hit him. I said my cute line, and nobody knit me, and everyone just pushed me away. They shushed me. And for the rest of his life, now he has to wonder, every time he opens his mouth, is this going to be a genius line or a shush line? Sheket. That's the first, listen, there's millions of moments like this in our lives, but the first one is the first shush. You hear that? So this is what it says, this is what Chazal say. Part one, there's 3 steps to the word. This is part 2 of the word. The first part of the word was that reality is knowing Kol HaTorah Kula. Forgetting the whole Torah is after you get hit by the Malach. Malach doesn't mean angel. What does Malach mean? Why does Malach mean angel? It means messenger. Angels are Hashem's messengers, but Pashup Shad. So Kol HaTorah Kula means you live in reality until Hashem is Shliach. Knocks you down. And that's when you get Torah. But now we have one more step. What does the Malach do? He hits you on what's this? This is the shush. That's what Chazal is saying. When Chazal say he hits you on the lip, what Chazal is saying is Kol HaTorah Kula. You live in reality until the Malach hits you, until whoever it was that Hashem sent to shush you. The person who shushed you was the Shliach Hashem to shoot you out of the sky. And that's when you start to forget Torah. Now you start to lie. You don't want to get embarrassed. You don't want to get shushed again. So you say, I shop in Lowe's, not Home Depot. Or whatever you say, whatever it is that you do, however you defend yourself from getting hurt again. You become a joker. You become a clown. You become a hater. So the problem with the vart at this point is, it's a nice vart. So what Chazal say, a baby knows Kol HaTorah Kula till the Malach hits him on the lip, and then he forgets Torah. So what are we saying? That you're born knowing Kol HaTorah Kula means you live in reality. Every kid lives in reality. Until when? Until he gets shot out of the sky. What is that? The Malach, the Shliach hitting you on the lip till you get shushed, and then you forget Torah. Then you lose sight with reality, and then you start to lie to yourself and say who whatever and who cares and it's all stupid. I hate Lakewood. You say all the things that people say once they've been shot out of the sky to defend themselves. So the problem with the vart is it's cute, but you don't get this dent when you get shushed. The dent was there before the shush. It's not really pshat. The malach hitting you must have been some real malach. Like this dent happened before you got shushed. No kids aren't without the dent and before they're till they're 3. So this is, I think, the most important vart in the world because of this last step. No, it is the truest vart. What's the teretz? The teretz is that the malach didn't create the dent. He didn't make the dent when he hit you. The dent was there before. You're right, he was there before. Because it's not a scar. What does it say? What does that dent say? You think, this is what ruins our lives. What ruins our lives is we think that we were supposed to fly, and I was flying. Everyone remembers how good their life was. Before their parents started fighting, before the yeshiva didn't accept them, before that shadchan lied to them, before this camp. Everyone knows this story where they got shot out of the sky. That moment ruins our lives. And usually it ruins your life in one of 2 ways. When you get shot out of the sky, some people will never fly again. They'll make all the excuses why we shouldn't fly. I hate flying. It's whatever it is, you'll never fly again. Or some people, dafka, will fly. Just to teach that person who did it that I'm stronger than you, I'm bigger than you, I prove him wrong, I'm not a noisvarf, I am this. But in both of those cases, this guy's life was destroyed by that moment. From the moment he got shot out of the sky, his life ceased to be about his life. It wasn't God he was worshiping, it was that Rebbe, that Maimon. That thing derailed him. Our lives get derailed when we get shushed. The shush is what derails our life, and we all remember with clarity who shushed me, or whatever it was in your life, and our lives become scarred by that and affected either by we become reluctant and hesitant, or become dafka, aggressive, to this proven wrong. So what's the teretz to basically most people in the world who are in, I'm not saying everyone has the most drastic sense. Some people have mild doses of it. But a little bit of sheker is still not reality. A little bit of distortion, you're still not living in the world of reality. You're still not living in Torah. So what's the cure? What do you tell somebody? I believe this is every therapist. This is the sugi he has. The guy walked in, he's sitting there. You know before he walked in, what you're dealing with is someone who's struggling with something. The struggling happened because he was flying and he got shot out of the sky. He never got over it. That's the universal story of life. So what's the answer? You don't even have to hear what he has to say. You know what he has to hear. There's a lot of answers, but this is answer number one. If I do my book on surfing, this is maybe chapter number one.
It's a chapter.
What?
When the book is written, this will be one of the chapters.
One of the chapters. I don't know which number, but it may be one of the most important Yesaitis. What do you tell the guy? You tell him this word on the Malach. The Chazal say this because it describes this thing. You were shot out of the sky. You got shushed. Whoever it was, you listen to him talk and you'll identify as shusher. And you tell him this last part of the word. Is that you think your purpose of life was to fly, and this guy shot you out of the sky and ruined your life. And the Torah says, no, that's the totally distorted view of what your purpose was. Because the Rebbe didn't create the dent. It was already there. So what does that dent say? If you look at that dent, what does that dent call out to you? What's the purpose of that dent? It means when you were created, you already had a groove here. What does that groove say?
It's predetermined.
What's predetermined? The groove says more than predetermined. The groove says it's a perfect spot for a finger. The groove says, Rebbe, place finger on dotted line and shush. You were created to be shushed. You were designed with the lines for the finger. It's already there. You think your purpose of life was to fly, and he shot you out of the sky and ruined your life. What you need to know is one thing: he didn't ruin anything. You're exactly on schedule. The purpose of life is to fly and to be shot down. He did exactly what the script. He's a Rasha. Hashem will punish him. But he's just a shliach of Hashem. He's the guy Hashem sent as the malach to hit you on the lip. But your lip was waiting to be hit. That's the makeh b'patish. Your last act of creation is the shush. Didn't ruin your life. You think your Yom Leida was the day you were born? Your Yom Leida is the day you were shot out of the sky, because you're not complete. Everything until that day is waiting room. The purpose of life is not to fly, and shooting down ruins your life. The purpose of life is to fly and get shot down. And then you're born. The purpose of life is to learn how to fly again. That's a tachas hachayim. The purpose of life is luchei shniyas, is the bayesheni, is tshuva, is recovery. And until you were shot down, you haven't begun to live. Life is about recovery. That's what it is. He didn't ruin anything. What you think ruined your life, the thing that derailed you, it's the biggest, and this is what you have to think. Every morning you have to go wash your hands and look in the bathroom, in the mirror, and see this little groove. And when you see the groove, that's the machshava. That this dent was there. All that stuff that happened was supposed to. It didn't ruin anything. If you could assimilate this word, it liberates you from all trauma. The trauma's not that it hurt. What kills it is that he ruined my life. What woulda, coulda, shoulda. No, not what. This is part of the script, and it's all licked in this yesod that the dent was there first. The Malach didn't create the dent. The Malach was Hashem built that dent for the Malach, who is Mamunah, to be the one who put his finger there and shushed you. This is the biggest Torah. You hear it? Can you hear how it could save someone's life? You have to be able to deliver it and say it slow enough and clear enough that a person hears this.
How's the shtim with the whole idea of like we're living in the Gan, life is here for you to fly, be a dreamer?
So because my son asked me, my Sunday, my Home Depot, Alexander, he was a little kid, not little, but like right after his bar mitzvah. He said, "Tal, all your Torah is all about dreaming and innocence and the Gan, the dreamer. He goes, how does that fit with Chazal who say Yetzer Leiv Ha'adam Ra Menura? Right? All my Torah always is that you're born Shalem, and then you get knocked around, and then you go hide. The pasuk says Yetzer Leiv Ha'adam Ra Menura, which means what? That you start off bad. So what's the teretz? It's a good kasha. It's a kasha on my Torah. What's the teretz? The Ravina Shalom is very articulate. So what does it mean? Yetzer Leiv Adam Ram in the Urav. What's the kasha? The kasha is that you see that he's already damaged from Amol. Didn't happen from anything bad that happened to you. You cradle like that. It's not true. You know the beautiful Torah on it's not part of the Basia part. It's a different Basia part. Basia sees, what she sees? She sees Moshe in the water. That's what it says. She sees Moshe in the basket, and she says, "V'hinei," and she's looking. She goes down to the water. She goes down with the Lachshon Pasuk, go down to the Or, and she sees Moshe in the basket, and V'hinei nar boicha. The child is crying, and she goes, Hinei meyaldei ha'ivrim zeh. This must be one of the Jewish children. That's what she says. What's the shtash? How does she know that it's a Jewish kid? So what's the diak there? Bezen b'nei Teireh. She sees Moshe. I wish I had the pasuk here. V'hinei nar boicha. And she says, must be that meyaldei ha'ivrim. This is such a good inspiring part. I'm not sure if it's 100%, but it's one of his most inspiring Torahs. It's not my Torah. Someone says this. I forgot who says it. It's many years ago. What's a diak? You have a diak over here? V'hinei nar boicha, and she says, must be there's this miyaldei ivrim. What's the problem?
Only Jewish kids cry.
See, already being a philosopher, what I started in the beginning is you have to look at the words and see what HaKadosh Baruch Hu is mamayat. You're philosophizing without first analyzing the
Yaldi
text.
means the people nursing, or means the mothers?
No, Yaldei Ivrim. It's a
Giving
boy,
birth.
a Jewish child.
Spring up.
Why does the Torah change the Lashon from a nar to a yeled? Hinei nar boicha, and she says meyaldei ha'ivrim zeh.
Saying who it's from. It's saying it's from the mothers of Ivrim.
That's what you're trying to answer. You're avoiding the question. What you're
I
saying?
mean, I think that's. This
That
is
what?
a nar. He is from. He must be a Jewish. Well,
Meinare, so it should mean nare ha'ivrim.
Meinar. Kids aren't born from kids.
No, he's one of those kids. He's
After
from
May-
that subset of Yaldei. May Yaldei means doesn't say Meyalidei. That would be those who were born from. Meyaldei means a Jewish kid. It's one of the Jewish kids,
Okay, I understand. Yeah.
right? Meyaldei
Yeah,
Ivrim
he's
says.
he's one of the kids.
So what's halacha? What's the difference between a yeled and a nar?
Nar's older.
Yeah, a nar is much older. A nar is already an older kid. It's not a mitzvah yet, but it's right. We know what a nar is. So how could she call him a nar? So this is you'll hear why it's too geschmack to be honest. Like it's too modern. What it means is that you know what she saw. How'd she know it was a Jewish kid? Moshe's a yeled. He can't be a nar. Must have been that Aaron HaKohen was together with Miriam in the bushes watching Moshe. And if Moshe was a yeled, Aaron, the older brother, was a nar. And she saw Aaron crying when he saw Paro's daughter getting close. And she saw the nar boicha. When she saw the brother crying over his little brother in the water, she said, it must be Meyaldei Ivrim. When you're crying over your brother, that's the raya that you're a yid. When the nar is boicha, that's how you know Meyal. You hear this like, why are you saying this Torah? You know, like it's a powerful Torah. Amazing. When you hear, it's like too amazing almost.
Can we back up a little bit?
But I'm going back. This was just a what do you want to back
I
up
have
to?
a question. We were saying about
You didn't fearize, right? You didn't
I didn't fearize anything yet. Yeah.
If someone's saying that with the bird that got knocked down, is when someone gets knocked down in life, you're not here to prove it to the guy because it's part of your life is that you're going to get knocked down. So it has to fit with the concept that when Hashem gives you a nisayon, Hashem is giving you a nisayon because you're here to overcome the nisayon. So getting knocked down will be a nisayon in life.
Whatever it was, you don't know if it's overcome it, or maybe it makes you not overcome it. Maybe this is like a tool for you. Maybe this is a matana. Maybe on the floor you're gonna find the $100 bill. Who knows? What? Like I'm saying a metaphor, but there's a lot of reasons why. But it's always that's your plan. Nothing was out of the plan wasn't broken. This is the avodah. But let me tie everything together. So I just get in this tangent. I'm gonna have to unravel it. So why did I tell you this word in the nar? What I want to show you that a nar is older than the yeled. So when it says that Yetze Leva Adam Ramin Urav, what does it mean?
Only when he's older?
Doesn't mean when he's born. It's a nar. Why is that age called a nar? It's a raya to my word. What does the word nar really mean? L'na'er.
What do you do with para?
Hisnari me offer kumi. Nior, l'na'er.
Shake?
When you shake something, these are the year that this Yetzer Leva on the Ramen Urav is when do you lose sight of reality? When you get shaken. And that's why a nar is that age. Now it doesn't have to be that age. The Gemara says it could even be a baby. It says when he comes out of the womb, it's a nior. The childbirth could be traumatic. It could be. But that age is called a nar because that's where, when you're going through puberty, those years, those times, that's when we're most susceptible. Those are the years of nior. So that's the pshat. It's mamash to fits with the word that we're born tahar, and then we're shaken and we go off. But that was the plan. That's the chiddush now. The extra step I'm saying is that's l'chadchila. It didn't ruin your life. That's your life. Your life is recovering from the spot. When you find yourself on the floor in a heap, sing happy birthday. That's your Yom Leida. And now let's see what you do with life.
What do you do with para Adam Yivalid?
But first of all, Pera Adam is not a chesaron. Pera is just. It could be a chesaron if you blind like that. It's just. That's my paradumatar. You know my paradumatar? I'll just tell you a 30-second version, a shorter version. When the Torah describes a paraduma, how does it describe it? It's red. It never wore an oil. It didn't work a day in its life. Never carried anything. It's the picture of total never got clapped. The most pristine, vibrant, wide-eyed kid in the world. That's her wants you to see this. A red cow, not one white hair. It's red as wildness. But it wants you to see it in a beautiful way. Never wore an oil. It's just that golden kid with the wide eyes. Total shlemus, undented. And as soon as you have that beautiful image, you know what you do? You picture, wow, what a golden child. No pain, no nothing. Say, B'li ayin hara, wow, you should always be like this. You give all the brachas. Then what do you do now? You take that and you burn it. As oira, this besara, pirsha yisrael. You burn it down to zero. Its bones, its skin, everything get reduced to nothing. What you're watching is totality, 100% reduced to zero. The saddest thing in the universe is the afar sreifas hapara. It is the total destruction from 100 to 0. The saddest thing in the world is the ashes of the paraduma. That's why I call Zayis Chukas. In my Vorda Hakika, we discuss it ever? Chiseling?
Yeah.
What? This is the total Hakika. There's nothing compliment. It's like taking Mount Rushmore and chiseling it until the whole thing's powder. There's nothing left. Zayis Chukas. This is the most nechkak thing in the world. There's nothing more chiseled, ground up into a powder from totality in the paraduma. Saddest thing, somehow that is matahir, and that's the chayk. Somehow that's matahir to meim matam. You can understand very well how it's matam tahirim. It's the most debilitating thing in the world to watch. It's like, it's like you see this perfect little kid. You're looking at him, golden curls, smile, big eyes, giggling, and then you're watching it hit by an 18-wheeler and smushed. There's nothing left. That is the most devastating thing in the world to see. The yoifi and the shleimus contributes to the tsar. That's how the Torah wants you to see the paraduma. Those ashes. It destroys regular people. But the person who's already on the floor, everybody crushed, how is that machaya him? Okay, we'll save that for Parshas Chukas, how that works. But why I tell you this? Because what you're describing is that wildness. The wildness is right. That wildness is shleimus. How is Hagar at all consoled when the Malach tells her, go back, deal with Sarah? You know why? Because you're gonna have a kid, Pera Adam. And she goes, really? You do Pera Adam? That's amazing. Okay, I'll go back. Like, what person in the world will find chizuk in being told their kid is Pera Adam? Yeah? Because there's definitely a beauty. The fact of the matter is, though, is that it doesn't exist. Nobody blibes like that. Pera Adam is beautiful. That kid is beautiful. But there's a bigger godless to the person who recovered. Aravoid is not Pera Adam. Aravoid is recovery. But the aspiration to Pera Adam makes a lot of sense.
It's paradigm after paradigm.
It's the same. That's all power. It's all this. It's all. It's.
What's the literal translation?
The part.
Is it wild?
Yeah, it means unrestrained, pure.
There's I think it's a moral in the beginning of Bereshis that says that the Mersham saw that he created Adam on earth and he was happy because it says if he was in Shemayim, then they do a merida, they do a rebellion, and he says basically that the tzias of your neshama is when you're born is there's an aspect of rebellion in you, like automatically.
Where does it say this?
It's a morale somewhere in the beginning of Bereshis.
Maybe that pasuk. Yitzchak Adam Ramanurov.
I'd have to find it and go back to you.
So you ask him as a kasha.
Yes.
So I would tell you that it's probably just semantics. It's the spirit of rebellion. My mushal I always use. I want to give a mushal of a kid, shleimus. I give them just to make this point. I say, I talk about when the kid sees schmutz. That doesn't the first time. Told the kid saw something inappropriate. He was the last kid in from recess every single day. The Rebbe blows the whistle, and this kid's saying, "Rebbe, one more shot, one more shot." Is that bad or good when the kid says one more shot to the Rebbe? My aside is that that kid, one more shot. That's holy. That's what he's supposed to want. The day he looks at something inappropriate, he doesn't do that anymore. He lost that whole fire, and you don't have that. You lost that engine of innocence that allows you to be all in. At 10 years old, all in is recess. It's the rebellion to authority is the desire to not be crushed. That's a holy thing. It's not, but to call it rebellion is wrong. It's to kick back at anyone trying to break me. Don't restrict me. That's probably what the Maharal is talking about. It's just the childish shleimus is at odds with the world that's trying to civilize him. But it's not evil rebellion, it's a holy rebellion. It's just the nature, and he doesn't understand that shleimus is not the goal. That's after this vart, that the goal is a whole different type of life. But that's, until you show it to me inside, that's what I'll assume he's just trying to talk about. Anyways, so that was, you hear the vart on this side? So now, okay, I'll just tell you the first part of the vart. This is Hachel Chermish Bekama. Mamish in one pasuk. That whole Torah. When the sickle begins to swing at the standing grain, imagine that you're the grain. And you're in yeshiva and you see that brutal mashgiach who like destroys everybody coming down the hallway, and you're smoking in your room, you know? So you know what's going to happen, right? So he's the sickle. And you're this kid who just wants to smoke because it's geschmack. You're not trying to ruin the yeshiva. You're not trying to do anything. It's just, it's part of your shleimus, really. It really is. If I want to test the limits. I don't want to be a tatala. I want to be huge. That's the Yetzer Tov. Most kids who don't smoke, it's not the Yetzer Tov. It's that new Yetzer Tov after you broke that rebellion thing. The word rebellion is a bad word. It's not rebellion. It's shleimus. It might be wrong ultimately, but you understand why it's. But so you see, the mashgiach's the sickle, and then he comes in and he says, "You oisvar, you should never take it into yeshiva. I knew you'd never be anything. You'll never be anything." And your whole comma, your innocent thing is crushed on the floor, bleeding. Everyone's laughing, talking about, oh, the Rebbe caught him in the room, and he said this, he called him this, and everyone's laughing. It's over. So you think that the day the Chermesh hit the comma was the end of your life. What does the pasuk say? The whole entire mitzvah of Sefira is Mehochel Chermesh Bakama Tochel Lisbar. You start counting from the day the sickle chopped down the grain. It's not that your yard site. It's your birthday. The Jewish view is when the sickle chops down the grain, that's your birthday. This is the aside.
We're gonna go into why?
What?
You did in the past.
What?
Are we gonna go into why?
Well, we could talk about why. I just, if you want, this is an important Torah because it's.
Is the what?
Is this a cure for everyone's trauma? What's the answer if you wanted to blind with your trauma? What are you gonna answer?
Oh, nice, the guy's broken.
What?
Nice, he's broken.
You're not broken. You're only broken because what's the brokenness?
Supposed to be broken, but he's broken.
No, but what's the tsar of the broken? He's hurt. He's not broken. The reason why
He's scared to get up again.
a black and blue mark becomes broken is because I think I'm derailed and I'll never be able to fly again. Because you thought your purpose was to fly, and he broke your wings. And the answer is that you're not a bird. He didn't ruin anything. You're not broken. You're just black and blue. That's all it is. This Yesod of Mehochel Chermesh Bakama, the truth is Hochel Chermesh doesn't say it. The Vort with the Klap says it better. Is that this is the that was put there. Your purpose of life this is part of your script. If it's part of your script, then what does it mean? It means you're not broken. You're right on schedule.
But the bird's still not gonna be able to fly regularly. It's still gonna have
Or the other name, but if it can't fly regularly, then it means your purpose of life was not flying regularly.
So maybe this guy's purpose is not to get up in the morning.
Maybe. But then the question is he not getting up because this is what he's supposed to be, or is he hiding? Which part of you is driven to that? Is it your she'ifas to stay in bed, or is it your fears to stay in bed? If it's your fears, it means that something terrible happened to you and your life was ruined. You didn't assimilate this vart. The avodah of Sefira is the knowledge that the day the sickle hits you is the day your life begins. And no one says this. It's the most pashut Torah in the world. It's life-changing Torah. Mehochel chermesh bakama tochel. And we make a bracha and we count every single day and every week from the day you got clapped. It's like the day. It's like the greatest. It's such a paradigm shift. But I want to add one more step. You might think over here that thanks, but listen to this pasuk now. In Yosef's dream, Yosef's the dreamer. You know that Torah of mine. The Machlekes Yosef and the brothers, Balachalemus, right? You don't know about Balachalemus? That's my most important Torah. I'm not going to say it now. It's too long.
Dreaming or stem?
Why the brothers hate him?
Because he's a dreamer?
You heard that Torah of mine?
I don't know.
So important.
I'm just putting it out there. There's a lot of most important Torahs going on.
Yeah, they're all very important. The whole Torah is important.
That's why it's in there.
Which kid is your favorite kid? Like which kid?
Kool-Aid Blah.
What?
Kool-Aid Blah.
Just doing a little insert. The next chapter in the book could be the pay of your field.
The what?
The next chapter in the book after this could be the pay of your field.
What do you mean the payer?
How does that connect to leaving a corner of your field?
Okay, good, because that's just the Farsha, by the way, right? All those like the Shikha and it's all this week, Daishin. But here's what I want to show you. When Yosef's dream, well, listen to the dream. Let's go through the dream. We were all busheling bushels in the field. My aluma stood up, v'gam nitzava, and hine kama alumasi v'gam nitzava. My aluma was kama and nitzava. V'hine tisubena alumoisechem es alumasi. And your bushels all gather around my bushel. V'tishtachavena alumasi. Okay, that's the pasuk. Everyone knows that by heart. Hine anachnu ma'al malum b'seich hasada. V'hine kama alumasi v'gam nitzava. V'hine tisuvena alumoisechem. V'tishtachavena alumasi. We were all busheling bushels in the field. My bushels stood up, and your bushels gathered around. They bowed down to mine. So here's one ha'ar. What does it mean? Hine kama alumas. What's the dream really? The dream is we were all bushels, and your bushel bows down to my bushel. Why do you have to have that middle step in the dream? That my bushel stood up. Let's say he wouldn't have said that. So we were all busheling bushels in the field. And your bushel bowed down. That's the point, right? We're all bushels and you bow down to me. What's the middle step?
Did he fell down too?
What?
Did he also fell down when he got up? Is that...
It doesn't say anything of falling down. Maybe you're copying where I want to go. But and my second question is not only are we talking about this extra step of my bushel stood up, why is there a double expression? Hine kama alumasi v'gam nitzava. It stood up and then also stood up. What's the difference between kama and nitzava? Yeah? So without going through the whole Yosef story and the brothers, it's hard to hear. But I want to make kama and nitzava as the machlokes between Yosef and the brothers. What is it? We said what does kama mean?
Stand up.
What?
Stand up.
But what does it mean in the sense always? Mehochel chermesh bakama. What does that mean?
Who stood up to get knocked down.
So, but the kama means it's standing grain, and then you swing and chop it down, and now it's not kama anymore. It was nofal, right? So when it says by Yosef hine kama alumasi, that's a very huge thing to say. What's it saying? Because when you're making bushels, what does it mean? What are you doing with bushels? What are you making bushels out of?
Chop down.
What? Chop down. So it sounds like in the dream, Yosef is seeing what? What's the difference between kama and nitzava? The Torah that I just told you is called nitzava. What does nitzava mean? You got knocked down, you get back up. You get knocked down, you get back up. Get up. Right? What does kama mean? Kama was the standing grain before it got chopped down. So could you ever become kama again after you were chopped down? Sounds as a chiddush here that it's kama v'gam nitzava. That not only is the purpose of life to get knocked down and get back up, but you could also become innocent again. Kama is the standing grain. It's impossible to become kama again. Mehochel chermesh bakama. So what's our first vart? Is that you weren't supposed to be kama. You were supposed to be crazy glue, tape, stapled back together again. That's life. That's your purpose of life. It's better. But it seems like it's possible to have both. You could take cut grain and it be kama again. Right? The mashal I use for the shaila is, it's a grubber mashal, but is you can't become a basula again. If someone's a basula and then they're no longer a basula, you don't recover. You don't become a basula again. right? It's a different life. But that's the best mashal for this. This Kama, this Nitzava. Nitzava is the life of a grown-up. But Kama is gone. But in Yosef's dream has a double lashon. It's saying that there's also a bechina of Kama after the fall.
It's different. Why is it a different word?
What?
Why is it a different word?
Because it's two opposite things. Nitzava is Nitzava's gotta be tough, gotta get back up. You have to be resolute, determined, a grown-up, went through tsar with battle scars, and you be a netziv. You can only become a nitzava after you were knocked down. Beforehand, you're too soft. But Kama is this sweet, pristine thing that was never knocked down. But it seems like in Yosef's dream, this trippiest thing in the world, that there's a musig of Kama after you were chopped down. Nitzava, I would have heard. If it would have said, whatever, how you would say it, right? My aluma was Nitzav, right? And all yours, but it says Kama. So I found the pasuk. I don't want to sound like I'm some kind of like creepy makubal, but I had it, and I was agonizing over this vart. I dreamt of this pasuk. I was married to Israel. And I was Shabbos afternoon. It was my son's dira in his guest room without windows, and I was thinking of this Torah the whole time. And listen to this pasuk. But you have to hear the shaila before I tell you the pasuk. I don't know. Again, it's a raw vart. It's not finished. I'm just telling you everything I told you till now was my old Torah. This Torah of the malach hitting on the lip. And what's the aside? The aside is the purpose of life is to become nitzav. To get knocked down, the purpose of life is to learn how to stand up again. It's a different person. And that will be the chapter in the book. One chapter is that it was supposed to happen. The second chapter is that nitzav is a stronger thing, that you're better than you were before. You're stronger, something, whatever it is. That's a lot of different ways that you're better. But then the new chiddush is that the first Torah is saying that your birthday wasn't when you were born. It's now your sophisticated, battle scarred person. It's a whole different trip. But we see that there's something else going on, that you can still recover innocence. You can become a basula again. It sounds like that's what kama means in the mashal. I have no idea how to make sense out of that. What is that? But it seems clear in the pasuk. The lashon that the pasuk uses to describe what you were before you were chopped down is kama alumasi v'gam is v'hochel chermesh bakama, and then we're talking about what happens after hochel chermesh bakama. Then you do ma'amer, and you make bushels, right? You bushel it. You ma'am malum b'say chasada. So what they're doing is the step after Hachal Chamesh Kama. They're making bushels in the field. And in Yosef's dream, he sees that his grain got reattached. And it went right back to my innocence that I had, unfazed. That's what we're up to. We're going to figure that out. Listen to this pasuk. And I'm saying my mashal beforehand was, how could that be that it's a basula. You can't become basula again. You never become that giggly, innocent kala. It's a whole different life. You can become something more grown up. But there's no basula anymore. But it seems like in Yosef's dream, there is something like that. So listen to this pasuk. We know that in Ashrei, there's no pasuk for nun, right? Ashrei goes by the aleph phase, and then Mem is Malchus Kolam Mishal B'Chol B'Dor, and then it skips to Soymech Hashem L'Chol Noiflim. Because the Gemara says, what's the pasuk for nun? Nun is Nefil. I'll tell you the pasuk in a second. And nun is Nefila. That's why we skip nun. We have Soymech Hashem L'Chol Noiflim. Hashem supports, which sounds like our old Torah. Soymech Hashem L'Chol Noiflim. Hashem is Soymech a Noifel. He supports you when you fall, which is like a need something. He helps you stand up. You fell, but Hashem, don't worry. There's Hashem Tzarech, and that's the whole new life. That's our Torah. But what's the pasuk of Nun? You know the pasuk of Nun? Neufel, listen to this pasuk. Neuf is I came to me. I knew the pasuk. I didn't dream the pasuk. I didn't know. I knew it. But Neufel al toisev kum besulais Yisrael. Neufel, you'll fall, and no longer al toisev kum, no longer get up besulais Yisrael. So what's trippy about that pasuk? A few things. It uses my mashal. It wants to describe that Noifel al Toisev Kum. Right? It says Besulis Yisrael, which is exactly what I was saying. But you know what's even cooler? What's the lashon it uses? My whole part was that Yosef, al Toisev is Yosef. Right? Yosef li ben Acher. That's what he's named Yosef. The pasuk, this is Yosef's pasuk. Neufel al Toisev comes, and in Yosef's dream, Yosef discovered that there is a, and that's the Samech Hashem l'chol Neufel. This pasuk is mamish saying this. The pasuk is saying we skip that pasuk. We get rid of that pasuk. Why? Because it's not true. Maybe that's why. There is such a thing as Toisev kum. Toisev kum means what? Kum is what's kum? What does kum mean? The lashon kama.
Innocence.
But kum is kama, right? Neufel al toisev kum. You can't get back up. But you see in Yosef's dream that the neufel, the chemesh bakama, it was kine kama alumasi. So by Yosef there is a musig of kam after nefila, and that's that pasuk. Yosef al toisev kum. There is something called recovering Basulim. There is something called, I don't know what it is, but that musig exists.
Only if you're under 3.
What?
I said only if you're under 3. Maybe the answer is to become.
Or an 11 month in the year with Ibriyar.
What's that?
What?
What's that?
It's a Gemara, right? Talks about
You mentioned it before.
it works by the calendar, the 3. It's not a science, because if it's it can be more than 3. If you have it, right? That's what the calendar Gemara is exactly. So what do you what this is a different chapter, but I don't have it. I don't know it yet. What's the vart? Is it possible to recover innocence?
Dreams are trippy.
What?
Dreams are trippy. It was a dream.
Even if you can recover innocence, it can't be exactly what it was before. Then there'd be no avoided.
It sounds like this kama.
No,
It's a unique thing. It's not every day. It's Yosef. That's what I think. This dream. I had a mahalach when I first said this.
So what's the Gam Nitzava?
Oh,
Why
what's
doesn't
Gam
it just say
Nitzava?
Hine Kama Alumasi and stop
what do you-
there?
so that-
you see it must be something different.
I skipped that whole machlokes of Yosef and the brothers. Machlokes of Yosef and brothers is Yosef's the balach haloimes. He's the dreamer. My chiddush in the story is that the brothers hate Yosef. Yosef says to his brothers, "I had a dream," and they hate him. Then he says, "Listen to the dream. You're all going to bow down to me." And it says they hate him even more. Why'd they hate him the first time? Vice Doisi didn't say the dream yet. You hear the kasha?
Mm-hmm.
You never heard his Torah?
You said it in more shibul thing, but I
Heard
like
the
hearing
kasha
it.
before.
I like hearing it again.
What?
So I've had the kasha before.
There's 2 kashas. Yosef says, "I had a dream." It says the brothers say. It says, "Vayisnu Oisai." Then it says he said Tishmach Haloim. He tells him over the dream. Now it says they hate him. Vayisifu Oid Snoi Oisai Al Chaloim Oisov Va'al Devorov. They hate him Al Chaloim Oisov. Al Chaloim Oisov Va'al Devorov, on his dreams and his words. What's the double lashon? You hear the kasha? What's the double lashon? Chaloim Oisov and Al Devorov. Wasn't the Devorov? He told him over the dreams. What is it?
Strawberry candy.
No. They hate him on his dreams and his words. He told them to listen to the dream, and they're going to bow down to me. Now they hate him for his dreams and his words. What's the double lashon? The words were the words of the dreams. So the Torah says they didn't hate him. Is everyone in the world starts off as dreamers? That's our whole Torah. And we get knocked around, and we lose our dreams. But Yosef grew up in the house of Yaakov and Rachel. Yaakov worked 14 years to marry his mother. if you grow up in a house where the father worked 14 years to marry the mother, Vayishak Yaakov the Rachel, it's the greatest love story in the whole Torah. So someone who grows up in a house like that, you know what happens to that kid? What happens when you grow up in a house where your father looks at your mother with the biggest eyes in the world? Those kids become bulletproof. They can have the most brutal, sick mashgiach in the world. And it says everything to them. And they come home and they go, Ma, my Rebbe had a bad day today. Like, it's because he's so safe. When you grow up in such a safe matzav, so that you don't lose your dreams. You can get all the klep in the world and it just washes off your back. The other brothers, they grow up in a house where their mother's a snua. Leah names all of her kids after her tsar. Reuven, Hashem, see my pain. Shimon, Hashem, here's my pain. Levi, this time my husband will come to me. Levi goes to sleep crying every night. So the brothers and Yosef, they both grow up, everyone grows up with dreams. That's the Messias, that's what youth is. But what happens is that Yosef never loses. The brothers get knocked around, so they grow up, they become grown-ups. So then Yosef walks into the room and he says, I had a dream. So they hate him for dreaming. Just for dreaming they hate him. Because they grow up, loves up with these dreams. You narishkeit, playing like when you're living in La La Land. That's what Chazal want you to hear. He's writing poetry, brushing his hair, walking around. He's a dreamer. He's a poet. The Torah wants you to understand that the child of Av of Yaakov and Rachel is pristine. Nothing dents him. It's like those cartoons where the guy walks and everything's falling down, just missing him. You know, like the anvil falls off the road. You know, it's old cartoons. Whatever it is, but the musik, he's Teflon. So Yosef comes and he says, I had a dream. They hate him. Then he says, listen to the dream. You're going to bow down to me. Now they hate him al chaloi moisov va'al divarov. What's a double lashon? They hate him for dreaming, and we don't like your dreams either. You're going to bow down, you balgaiva, you egomaniac. But it's two different sinners. The hatred of Yosef really is the hatred of dreamers. Because everybody was a dreamer, and you're reminding me of my dreams. That's the tsar of the brothers. And that's why when they comes out into the field, they want to make fun of him. What do they say? What should they say? What bothers them? They should say, "Oh, here comes the egomaniac. Everyone's going to bow down to you. You're the melech." They should say, "Here comes the melech. Here comes Tati. Here comes Mashiach." Whatever they should say. They say, "Hine ba'al chalamis." Isn't that missing the point? The point is that we're all they're all going to bow down to them. So what do you see from there? Which tsar is worse? There's two hatreds. There's the hatred for dreaming and the hatred for bowing down. Which one hurts more?
Dreaming.
Somebody reminds me of my dreams. That's the bigger tsar. Now, how do you know that? Which thing do they make fun of him for? The thing they need is silence. Is not that we're going to bow down. We all bow down to people in life. What we have to silence is that you're reminding me of that I was a dreamer once. And when they sell him to Mitzrayim, what words do they use? Ma'yu chaloi moisov. The whole story is to wipe those dreams off his face. Stop, laws up with those dreams. So Yosef's the Bala Chaloimis. The brothers are the opposite. What hashkafa? What's their hashkafa? They're not Rishoyim. What are they saying? They're saying there's no kama. Yosef, you're a mazik. You're the only guy in the world who grew up in a house with that marriage. It doesn't exist. So you're going to walk around, you're a barbishus arabim. You're just hurting people. Like, stop with the dreams. Everyone's broken. Talk to people how they recover. Don't talk to people how nothing bad ever happened to them. You're not legeya. You know my varam the kruvim? That's what?
We may have said it here.
I was going to say that's the next chapter.
No, the kruvim is part of this. This is it, right? The
Youth.
what?
Youth.
The kruvim are they put when they ate from the Eitz Hadas. I want to say what's pshat in the brothers' cheshbon. Makes the brothers look like this is what woke people are about. What's the woke world about? The woke world hates dreamers. Anyone walking around happy or smiling, they need to wipe that smile off your face. That's all it's about. They don't care about transgendered people. They hate married people. They don't care about black people. They hate white people. They don't care about Palestinians. They hate Jews. They don't care about about the environment. They hate you driving an SUV. They don't care about animals. They don't want you wearing a fur coat. It's a war against satisfaction and pride and joy and dreams. You need to walk around as broken, as empty as I am. Makes the brothers sound like some woke leftist. Blue-haired, and so what's the vart? What's the teretz for the brothers? The teretz is the kruven vart. The kruven vart is that in Gan Eden, when they eat from the Eitz Hadas, the pasuk says that Hashem said, "Pen yoichlu," that maybe they're also going to now eat from the Eitz Chayim. I have to stop that. So he puts the kruvim and the lat hacher of misapeches lishmar derech Eitz Chayim. He puts the kruvim and this fiery spinning sword to guard the way to the Eitz Chayim. That's not to go into that now, but just one simple thing. Rashi says that he puts the kruvim to guard the way to the Eitz Chaim, so that they won't also, they eat from the Eitz Das, now they won't eat from the Eitz Chaim also. What are the kruvim? Rashi says, Malachei Chavala, angels of destruction, which is a very schwer thing to say, because we know what kruvim are. What are kruvim? Kruvim are those little naked malachim on top of the aron. They represent total innocence and tara, bachar and psula. They represent Odom and Chava before the Chet. Total purity. The opposite of Malachei Chavala. How can you say that Kruvim are Malachei Chavala? Kruvim literally are the mashal for the opposite. So what's a teretz? So some people say it's different Kruvim. Some Rishonim say that. But it's very schwer to say the different Kruvim. Why? First of all, they're the same name. But more importantly, the regular Kruvim are soichachim bekanfeim ala orin. They're guarding the orin with their wings. Right, soichim bekan. The orin is the Eitz Chaim hilamachazikim. So there, the kruvim are guarding the Eitz Chaim, and in the Gan Eden, the kruvim, it's the same kruvim guarding the same Eitz Chaim. So how can you tell me that the Malachei Chavala? So what's the teretz? Teretz is the deepest thing in the world. What's the deepest Torah in the world? Is that, yes, kruvim are the picture of total innocence, but at the same time they're Malachei Chavala. You know how?
Remind you.
The picture of innocence of kruvim, that's the Malach Chavala. You know what destroys our lives? The picture that Ruchnius is kruvim. If you picture that Ruchnius is to be a kruv, then you're done. You don't stand a chance, because ain't Odom ba'aretz asher play b'layechata. There are no ikruvim. So if your musig of kedusha is kruvim, your life is over. The kruvim are the most, all churban in the world comes from the musig of kruvim. I'm not saying there's no such thing as kruvim. There's such thing as kruvim. But you know where they belong? In the Kodesh Kedoshim, Lifnai V'Lifnim, behind the Paroiches. No one's allowed to go in there, except a Kohen Gadol on Yom Kippur with the Ktoiras, and he can only see them through the Anan Ktoiras. That's Kruvim. Anything less than that, it'll destroy you, that musig. You have to be the most perfect person to look at Kruvim and not be broken by it. Kohen Gadol on Yom Kippur with the Ktoiras, but everybody else, Kruvim are destructive. They're mamish to malchil. And that's the brothers' shita. What the brothers are saying to Yosef is, you're a Russia, walking around, talking about your dreams. Do you know what you're doing to people? You're literally destroying everybody. Nobody has your parents' marriage. Doesn't exist anywhere else. Nobody. And you're a barbish sarab. And you're going to destroy everyone's worlds. Stop dreaming. Grow up and realize that the purpose of life is to pick yourself up and have scars and calluses and become an Oived Hashem. You carry the oil, you go through your tsaras and let it make you strong and big. But this innocent prancing around, brushing your hair, writing poetry, is the opposite of Torah and Yiddishkeit. You're just a mazik. You're kruvim. You belong. There's such a thing, but you don't come to the regular one. You hear that Torah? So that's the dream. So the dream, Yosef's, the brothers see that the alumais, the chopped down grain, are kama v'gam nitzava, both of our shitas. The brothers are saying that every grain gets chopped, become nitzava. make bushels out of them. And Yosef still has the kama. Yosef has a musig where even when you're chopped down, you still become kama. You recover your besulim. Noifel al toisef kum besulas Yisrael. It exists in Yosef. And that's the dream. That's how you have to understand. You have to be able to figure out what Yosef's dream is now. Yosef's dream is that the brothers bow down to Moshe's, to Yosef's bushel. Is what is that? Is that a concession to dreaming? What are they doing? I think it's a pshara. I think Yosef is saying, you're right, there is something called nitzava. But don't be this broken Litvish guy who can't crack a smile, because you have to be Oved Hashem, it's Besiras Nefesh. You can recover the bounce in your step, and you can become Kama again. You can dream. There are. It's not dreams or Ka'onisava. You can dream after a fall, and that's what the brothers bow down to Yosef. When the brothers bow down to Yosef, it's a haidah to the Balach Haloimais. It's a haidah that dreams do exist. It's not a machlokes of innocent dreams versus some brisker medactic like this. There's a tziruf where you can be a lichtig, a bouncy guy after the nefila, and I don't know what it is yet, but that's the next step, is to identify. If you could identify what is that, what does it look like to dream after, and that's the hine kama alumasi, and that's for Sefira. That'll be the shleimus in Sefira. It'll be the mehochel chermeish bakama tochel lispar. When the sickle swings and chops down the kama, the standing grain, and it falls into a heap, that's when life begins. But that life still includes the dream. I don't know where you see it in Shavuos. I think where you see it in Shavuos is the carbon of Shavuos. Is what? Is the Shtei Alechem. Chometz Te'afena. Has to dafka be chometz. None of this tzibrachana, humble matzah. The whole avodah of Ispatlus of Pesach is long forgotten. There's a life in even after the sickle.
Just to add, maybe, Shavuos is obviously all about the Torah, and according to what we said earlier, that Torah is reality. After you get cut down, and you go 49 days, you eventually reach the Torah, which is fresh reality again.
Good. Okay. Beautiful. So what is that? So
Relearn reality.
That's the same book. But do we understand it? Can you become a basula again? How does that
You
work?
are every year. You're getting the Torah again. You got it. It's coming. Then you fall through the cracks. Then again.
But what is it? Okay, good. Masking. Now, what can we define it in reality? In real, what is it? I'm a therapist. You're my customer. I want to tell you what.
You got to.
You're not
Here's what
asking
you
what
do.
is, you're asking
What?
how.
Okay, let's play therapist. Like, how do I tell you? How do you show someone that it's not a stira? Innocence.
Start it over again.
In words, you could say it. What does it mean in personality?
What you saying that that's what's happening, but we don't feel it. That we got it again.
Saying what's the avot? What's the chiddush? I could give you a shmooze that even though you went through tsaris, you'll be bigger because of it. You don't know what it did to you. You go to the gym, it rips your muscles. You get stronger. I give all that Torah, but where do you give that Torah? What's the Torah that you could be the innocent, giggly kid like nothing ever happened?
You mean how?
What?
You're asking how.
Yeah. What is it? What's the avodah? How is cool? What do you need? What do you need to do that? What do you need to become a dreamer again after? You want a Holocaust survivor to start dreaming again. What does he need to know?
The future?
Like the traditional the Shvatim's response to Holocaust survivor would be is listen, nobody went through what you. You know what the lesson you are to the world? Everybody who wants to break, everyone wants to be miyayish. They'll see you. You'll teach them about fortitude and perseverance and unwavering. You're amazing. You are the biggest dogma to humanity of how not to be destroyed by their tsaras. I get that shmooze. That's a shvatim shmooze. But Yosef says no. Yosef goes, it could be like it never happened. How? Where's the kama alumasi v'gam nitzava? That's the game changer in that story. They bow down to Yosef's visions. Means that they didn't crush Yosef's dreams. What does that? That's what it means. What does it mean when they bow down to Yosef's vision, to his bushel? That means the brothers were masking. They adopted the dreams. They were able to dream again. Instead of crushing his dreams, he made them dream again. With an extra mila, that not only are we dreamers, but we're also nitzava. We have the benefits of scars and strength and having gone through stuff, and we didn't lose anything from that giggly youthfulness. That's the coolest thing in the world. When you figure out what they did, what they bowed to Yosef means they were makabel, that you could be giggly after crushed. You can giggle again. Not you can go weiter, you can giggle again. But you still need tzava. Kama v'gam need tzava. Your mahalach exists, and my mahalach exists. And they were
When
master.
Yosef had that, he had both parts, so he just had.
That's the pasuk. That's at least in his dream.
He was
He
just
kama alumasi v'gam need tzava. My bushel means after it was chopped down, became kama again. Came kama as the
But
lashon.
Yosef is believing now that you're not gonna.
Yeah,
You're
Yosef
not gonna
was-
giggle again, right?
Yosef was never crushed. Nothing ever happened. He was like he's the dreamer his whole life.
So how does he know that?
He's the balach haloimus. But the question is, have the brothers?
What made them be masking?
You see, Yosef was not nitzava. I mean, maybe Yosef learned from them also. Yosef doesn't even chop anything bad happened to him. Like you can't say that he learned how to live with scars. I don't know if he had
So the
scars.
brothers came out to be better than Yosef.
Why?
Because they know that you can get crushed and be back to good, and you might get crushed again, but it's fine. Yosef doesn't know that he doesn't see himself getting crushed.
He never get
I don't
crushed. He goes to Potiphar's house. He runs the whole world. He goes to jail. He runs the whole jail. He comes out of jail. He runs all the time. Everywhere he's just like he doesn't even chop that anything bad happened. They put him into the frying pan. He goes, oh, it's so warm. You know, it's like whatever it is. He's getting beaten. He goes, oh, a little lower. You know? It's a massage. That's a good image. Like that image, Levin. You could have a yid like that. You can have him beating him, and he's going almost, little to the left. That's Yosef Atzadik. So you're right. So the brothers have a mile over Yosef. That's why we Malchus based Yosef. The Malchus of the Bnei Rachel doesn't have Kiyam. Shaul David is Mashiach comes from not Mashiach and Yosef, Mashiach and David.
We
Because
should strike for the Shvatim. We should
What?
be like the Shvatim. We shouldn't be like Yosef.
Yeah, but what allows the Shvatim to be is that they bowed to Yosef. Is they needed to learn how to dream again. They can't be. The goal isn't to be this Kalta Litvak who goes weiter. That's not the Vart. That's the brothers. That's Nitzavim. Come. That's my alumais that were chopped down. They stand up. You could be Kama. They bowed down to his Kama. That means they learned how to dream again with the Maila of Nitzavim. But what does that look? How does it look to be a dreamy Holocaust survivor? How do you do that? It's a trippy idea. Could you think of what's the flip, the switch in the switch that you have to flip in your head that allows you to dream? I don't know yet. I don't know if it's such a big chiddush. It could be such a simple thing.
Logotherapy.
What?
It's logotherapy.
I know what that is.
Viktor Frankl wrote a book.
Calls it logo because they calls it man's search for meaning. Listen, if you believe that in the vart with the clap, it's all from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so then why can't you dream?
It means you never clapped.
I was clapped, but it was supposed to happen. I'm on script. That's the vart. I got clapped, but the dent was there before the clap. We're on schedule.
I'm supposed to lose my.
We're
basula.
totally
It's
on
okay.
script. What?
If you're supposed to lose your
So,
basula,
so it's not called a
okay.
baul. It's not
Right.
called. It's not. It's still called basulim. Nebuch, the person who never lost basulim, they never happened. Whatever. That's called pristine. Pristine is. You have to explain it.
Pain is the difference between your expectations and reality.
Yeah.
You change
Expectation and limitations.
What?
Expectation and limitations. That's a flow.
So if that's the gadar, then
Doesn't
your
have.
expectations are,
But why is that very pain? When you get to a point that the pain goes away, or that the pain, no, not the pain goes away. The pain is there, but it hurts so good. You know the expression "hurts so good"? Hurts so good is like a massage. It's a good muscle massage. If it doesn't hurt, you didn't get your money's worth. You go like, oh, what's shot in that? What's shot in the massage? Massage is not that you're fixing it. It's I love it. You love the tsar. What is that?
But in the massage, you don't even feel the tsar.
You do feel it. You do feel the tsar. If you don't feel the tsar,
It's like, oh, low. I love it.
but you feel the tsar, but you love it. That's this. Okay, you have what to think about. I have what to think about.
Shkoyach.
Thank you very much.